And I think that for me is the biggest driver when it comes to particularly the coaching side of stuff. It's like, you can come to me for word tracks. Yeah, great. I can give you word tracks. I can tell you this, that, and the other. I can explain the psychology behind things. I can tell you what type of person you're speaking with, all this stuff. But it's not about that. For me, it's more about how can I help you become the you want to be? And you can be. But for one reason or another, you're not. Because I've been there myself, mate. I've put on hard facades and all this shit for 28 fucking years. I was depressed to hell for those 18 years I didn't share anything, 22 years even. But as soon as I allowed that to not happen to me, but for me, and accepted myself and loved myself and look at myself in the mirror and think, fuck yes, you're the man. Do you know what I mean? Until that point, it was all bullshit. And you don't make the money you want to make because you're not being yourself. You're not real. You're a fake. You're a phony. It's the self-awareness that will really move the needle. But it's the willingness to do it, because it's not an ROI thing. You're not going to make fucking 30K from doing this.
No.
What most people put it off. They'll be like, no, I'll do it later. I'll do it when I make money. I'll do it then. But really, that's the thing. If you can do that now, and you can become that leader that you need to be, and you can overcome those things, it will serve you moving forwards beyond fucking 30K a month, beyond 50K a month, to wherever you need to be in your life, and give you fulfillment at the same time and happiness properly, not just money happiness, because it doesn't make you happy. It just helps you live happier.
You see in this space, people just try one thing, or they try two things and they just like fucking give up. But you had accidents that, I mean, shit, like you couldn't have done anything about it, right? Like you were preparing for becoming like a pro fighter, right? And you had that bus accident. And then, you had the bike accident. What actually kept you going? Like, instead of just like, because majority of the people just kind of like collapse, and you hear sad stories. So just like everyone lives to be 40, 50, and they have all those stories of regret. What actually had you going still?
Yeah, it was really nice meeting everybody, and seeing Paddy again is good as well. I went to the gym with Paddy. I don't do you guys know Paddy?
I know
from the trainings.
Like, yeah, from the trainings.
If you see him back when you see him on the trainings, right, he's a fucking skinny little rat. And now, mate, he's like 105 kilos. We went to the gym and we were doing deadlifts, and we put all of the weights that we could on the bar, and he just lifted it up. I was like, fucking hell. This guy's he's trying to become, he's about my height, mate. He's about 6 foot. He's trying to become world's strongest man.
Is he?
Wait, really?
Legit.
Yo.
Legit. Yeah, he's going regional next year, and then world's strongest man will be the year after.
Holy, are you not 5'7", Nick?
Yo, I'm 5'7", man.
5'7". I'm not a midget.
Exactly, dude.
How tall are you, Shorty?
I'm 6 foot.
Are you really?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Do you want me to stand up and show you?
I believe you. I think it's because the angle, mate, because you put the camera down there. It's like, when small people put the camera underneath them so they can look bigger.
Yeah. Nah, hold up. Let me get the stand out. I'll get it just for it's the stand, bro.
I thought that was for you to stand on so you could be 6 foot.
There we go. How's that?
That's better, mate. Yeah, that's better.
There we go,
yeah.
Ashton, you wanna do as a what's it called? The honors?
An intro.
Let's do it.
Nick, I've been thinking of this all night now. So, guys, here we have Nick Schroeder, our very, very good friend. He used to punch people in the face. Now he makes money online. There you go, Nick.
You should have said it the other way, bro. You should have said that he used to punch people in the face. Now he punches people with his words, bro.
That's what you wanted to say, Sam. You should have said it, then. Anyway, this is Nick, guys. This is Nick.
Hey,
Nick, this is the best sales podcast on YouTube.
I believe it.
Yeah, it's growing.
I'm here.
I know, yeah.
Well, anyways, boys, Nikki, what I wanted to ask you is, like, we might just dive in deep straight away, because I was watching the like some of the recordings, like the free community, all that stuff, and what I've seen is like some people get attracted to Bill to the box because it's like you can be a little bit more direct with people, and some people take it to the extreme where it's just like they almost become too posturing with people.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? I think I saw it on the last call as well. in the community where one guy was just like very like speaking mostly about, well, I just put her on the spot. I was just challenging her, all that stuff. But I don't think he even got a tie down, right? Yeah. So what do you say is like the how do you actually come from a place where you can be congruent with that? Because it sounds like maybe there's some insecurities, all that stuff. Because like if you genuinely get driven by just making people look smaller than they actually are, and like actually being mean to them.
When you the thing is, I think it's a misunderstanding from a lot of people, right? Because if you're going to talk to somebody and you're talking down to someone, it's just not going to help anybody. And ultimately, the only people you're going to get across the line are the ones who can't afford it anyway, ultimately, right? The people who have a bit of a head screwed on their shoulders and are doing well, they are not going to allow somebody to just talk down to them on the phone. It's not about talking down to somebody. It's about giving harsh truths and realities, right? And ultimately, when you're challenging somebody, the way that you're challenging them is not necessarily their behavior. And it's not to put you on an elevated status. It's to help them to look at the way they think and how the way they think is actually impacting the ability that they have to actually achieve the goal that they want to achieve. So I think there's and if we look at recent years even, it's clear that there is some issue, particularly with young men, right? They don't know how to really be a man. You know, if we look at people like Andrew Tate, the reason he fucking soared up in popularity is purely because he was able to just say it to people straight and be an actual masculine person without, well, sometimes he's a cunt, but you know what I mean. And I think that's ultimately what it is. It's just about having that masculine energy enough to be able to challenge somebody rather than just be a people pleaser and listen to what they're saying as if it's gospel. But there is a fine line to tread between being that masculine energy and just being an asshole. Unfortunately, people who are newer in the game and they see how people like Bill speak and how I speak and things like that, and they misunderstand it because they don't have the life experience to really contextualize it, which then causes them to try and be a macho boy and all this stuff when it really isn't about that. It's about being a genuine human being, you know, having the authenticity when you speak, to actually be wanting to help somebody get from A to B and not caring about how they actually think about you because you're not the important person. So, I mean, I see it a lot, but ultimately it's just about understanding that fine line and being able to tread it carefully and appropriately for the prospect that you have in front of you. It's going to be different for every prospect you have, you know?
Yeah. I throw myself out there and say that I feel like I'm definitely that guy who's like that. It's like very I'm the young one here. Like between all of you guys, and yeah, I feel like I have yet to have all this kind of experience that you're sharing or mentioning about. And it yeah, I'm just trying to find that line still. I feel it's like,
I mean,
yeah.
it's normal. It's
Mhm.
normal. And a lot of people, especially when you're younger, you don't have that life experience yet, you know? Like I can safely say that I've lived probably about 15 different lives in the time I've been on this planet, you know, from the worst of the worst to now the best of the best, it feels like anyway, comparison. So I've been through a lot of different things and I've had to interact with a lot of different types of people with different types of motives and different types of drives. But that harbors in you some sort of emotional intelligence that you can then utilize whenever you speak to anybody, because you have the categories, the different personality types that are out there, the different ambitions that people have, the different things that drive people, even if they don't say it, they really mean in your mind. So when you speak to somebody, it becomes a lot easier to actually see through the words they're saying and see the person themselves and what that person is actually intending or what their intentions are. And that comes from life experience, you know. You can't just get that from sitting, you know, on the computer all day. I'm not saying that you do, Sam, right? But sitting on the computer all day, you know, and not really going out and living and being in different groups and going to different places and finding different people, unless you're just one of those rare breeds who's born, you know, with serious emotional intelligence, you know. It's very rare. It's a rare thing. It can be cultivated though through going out there and fucking living. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What did just on living your previous lives, Nick? What did you do before sales? 'Cause all I know is you were kickboxer, right?
No, I was a cage fighter before sales, and before that, I was a bare knuckle boxer. Um, so I ran away from home at about 15 years old, and I went and lived with the Pikeys in Watford. So the Travellers, they call them.
Yeah.
And we used to do bare knuckle boxing. So we'd jump in bales of hay and have fights. I'd have fights with like 30-year-old men at 16 years old, knock them out
Yeah.
in the bale of hay, and then people would put bets on it and everything else. And I'd get paid like a little bit of money. It wasn't a lot, but as a 15-year-old, a couple hundred
Yeah.
quid, actually like, whoa, I'm balling, mate. I go to the pub, be like, look at me, I got all this cash.
Yeah, I've been to one of them before. There, it's weird, right? Because where I live, there's like a traveler like site like 2 miles down the road, and they'd all come into town, and they'd the back of the shops all just punching the head off each other.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
crazy.
it's a crazy environment when you first get into it, man. But it's kind of like I was always brought up around that kind of, um, I guess, that kind of character with and people with those kinds of values, right? Which is like if you're hard, then you're safe.
Hmm.
And that was drilled into me from a very young age through other experiences that I kind of went through. So when I fell into that kind of space, it just made sense to me. And that's when I really flourished and I grew and I became like quite a big name considering I was an English guy in a traveler
Yeah,
community.
you weren't an actual traveler.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Then I fucked off to university because I was like, okay, I need to go and study stuff and try and get a good job when I grow up so I don't have to be a reprobate my whole life because I kept getting nicked and all this stuff. And then when I was at uni, I was like, okay, well, if I miss fighting, so I'll do cage fighting instead. So I started practicing MMA, and then I went from amateur to pro within a year, and then I was a pro fighter for 3 years, and I got scouted to get onto the Ultimate Fighter, which is the tournament to get into the UFC.
hmm
And I was training for it ridiculously hard, and I was still a broke fucking uni student, right? So I finished the session up at the gym, and I went to get on the bus, and because I was a little bad man back then, I went onto the top deck of the bus and I went to the very back. And as I went to sit down, I had my duffel bag on with a few pads and a couple weights in. And as I sat down, the bus went over a speed bump at the same time, and I sat down exhausted, like so. It went, and then two of my discs in my back just
shit.
completely slipped. Freak accident. I was just there like, and the driver's like, is everyone all right? I'm like, yeah. Took me home, and like my girlfriend at the time trying to lie on me and stuff like that, like on the sofa and stuff. I just couldn't fucking sit still. It was completely fucked, and I was in so much pain. I had to retire because I couldn't afford the surgery to get it fixed.
Damn.
And then that led me down a path of fucking despair and anger and oh why me and victim mentality and all this stuff and drugs, like lots of different kinds of drugs and lots of trouble and all this other shit. And I fell into recruitment, which was basically, to be honest, recruitment's like one of the most salesy sales jobs because you're selling all the time. You sell when you're talking to the business owner, you're selling the prospect, you're selling yourself. When you're talking to the prospect, you're selling yourself and the businesses you work with. When your emails, it's all sales, everything.
Hmm.
And did really well there. But again, because I was such a little reprobate, I was there for 18 months. I was doing extremely well, but I was on my 13th final warning by the time.
13th.
Yeah, because I kept going out on the Fridays. You know how most people live life when they don't
Yeah.
have goals and vision for what they want from themselves. You know, they live for Friday nights, and then Friday comes around, and you go out, you get pissed, you have a good time, you maybe get laid. You know, you go home, and then you recover until Monday, and then you start again. But every time we'd go out on Fridays, I'd end up getting in some sort of trouble and this and that, and then get in trouble with the company and all these different things. So yeah, eventually I had to leave there. Then I went into a different recruitment company, and I hated it. I didn't like recruitment anymore. And I remember the guy who was my boss at the time. Like I have got an issue with authority for sure, but believe it or not, the boss at the time was just one of those kids who clearly got bullied at school, and then he became a manager, and now he thinks he can just bully everybody. And I had enough of him, and I flipped the table up, and I told him to fuck off, and I quit the job after 3 weeks. And then I went into cloud desktop sales and selling digital marketing, so SEO and apps and all this kind of stuff. Then documentary films, and then I've done a lot, you know.
Yeah, you have, yeah.
But that's the thing, mate. It's that life experience. You know, I've made many mistakes, and none of them am I ashamed of, because it's all brought me to who I am and the skill set that I have now.
Yeah.
But I think that's a core thing as well for a lot of people, for you to really become the kind of leader you need to be on a call. You need to be able to actually be grateful for all of the mistakes that you made. Because if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't even be here, you know. It's an issue I see a lot. People can't let go of things, and they hold it and they carry it, and it makes them insecure, and it gives them a reason not to put themselves out there, because they're scared that they're going to get found out for something that they fucked up a long time ago. But it doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah. I guess
How did you like all of a sudden get into this space, Nikki?
So well, if we carry on that string, right? So I was still an angry kid up until about 28 years old. So it was only 4 years ago, Sam. Not 1 year. About 4 years ago. And I did a course which was about cognitive performance. So it's about training your brain, rewiring your brain, learning how to memorize, read effectively, like extremely fast, how to focus on demand, and these kinds of things. But also the deeper thing was about the rewiring, which is about letting go of things, like I mentioned before. And once I did that course, I completely, like, I remember the first day after that course, I was like looking out of my window, and I could see all of like the little specks of dust in the air, and I could actually see the green of the trees, and I could breathe the fucking air for once, the first time I've done in a very, very, very long time. And it just changed my whole perspective on life. And then after that, I went and worked for that company, and I worked there for 2 years, selling it. So one to many. So I'd be on stage and I'd be selling loads of people. And then I had a really bad motorbike accident, like to the point where my entire right side of my body was completely shattered. And I was in the major trauma unit for 6 days, and nobody knew I was there. So I was all on my own. And then when I came out, I was like, I couldn't work. I couldn't move. I was stuck on my sofa, paying rent in London. It was about 2,500 just for the rent. And you had the bills and everything else that I was paying as well. But I didn't have any money coming in because I wasn't selling. And then I'd had a conversation with Bill Walsh.
Yeah.
And he told me about the high ticket space. And I was like, sounds cool, but it's risky, innit? It's like commission only, you know, like what about the basic? He's like, no. When you get good, you don't need a basic. And I was like, okay. And it played on my mind for a little bit, and then I had the accident. And then I went back to him, and he started the objection box, and he was like, listen, I got something for you. If you want in, come in, train you up, and we'll get you going. And in the first month, I just fucking buckled down and studied. That's all I could do because I was fucked. I couldn't move. So I just focused on it. And then a month later, I got introduced to Profit for Contractors, which is like a contracting coaching business. And then my first month in that company, I made 25K. And then it's just been that way ever since. But sometimes that's the thing, mate. Like, you do all these other things and you're not making it. You make it 3K, 4K, 5K, maybe a 7K a month or whatever. And you're like, why does nothing work? And then boom, if you just keep pushing and you keep failing, you keep fucking going, and you never give up, you keep burning the boats every time and going forward, eventually it's going to happen. It's just a matter of, are you going to make it happen, or are you going to quit before that, you know?
Yeah. And the other thing is, for you specifically, your reputation precedes you. And it's like you got, as a, well, obviously skill set aside, you just as a person. I remember I was on an interview for a company I'm not going to mention, but you obviously know the guys. You worked there, and they said the biggest fuck up they did as a company is that they didn't compensate the best closer on the team, and then the guy ended up leaving, and the guy was you.
Yep. I know exactly who you're talking about. It happens on a lot of the accounts, mate. You know, I leave the account, and then once I leave, they up the commission for everybody else, which is great for everyone else. It's fucking annoying.
Yeah, you gotta walk so they can run, huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but damn, it's like, for me, because you see in this space, people just try one thing, or they try two things, and they just like fucking give up. and it's not even like they really had it hard. Like, I mean, shit, like you lost $1,000, $2,000. Like, I mean, obviously for some people that's a lot of money, especially given certain circumstances. But you had accidents that, I mean, shit, like you couldn't have done anything about it, right? Like you were preparing for becoming like a pro fighter, right? And you had that bus accident. And then you had the bike accident. What actually kept you going? Like, instead of just like because majority of the people just kind of like collapse, and you hear sad stories. So just like everyone lives to be 40, 50, and they have all those stories of regret. What actually had you going still? Because it takes so much fucking, like it's just insane strong will, right? Like, did you have like a specific vision in your mind of like help me understand?
Yeah, it's wondering how deep to go on a podcast.
Goes.
I'll share it. So, I mean, look,
Okay.
when I was very young, I think this is where my tenacity and drive just to keep pushing forward come from, right? When I was 6 years old, I was at an aquarium with my dad, and I was holding his hand, and I saw an empty fish tank. So I ran over to the fish tank. I let go of his hand, and I was like, "Where are the fishies?" So I put my head up against it, and this fucking camouflage octopus just came up like that on the window with his beak. You know they have beaks. Tried to eat my
Yeah.
face. Scared the fucking shit out of me. I'm only 6 years old, right? So I scream and I cry and I run back and I grab my dad's hand. I'm teary. I'm scared for my life. My dad can see obviously that I'm distraught. So he takes my hand and he leads me out of the aquarium, and then he leads me around the back of the aquarium down an alleyway to a car park to a van. He opens the van, and then I look up and it's not my dad. It was just some stranger, and I got kidnapped. Yeah,
Oh
I got
my God.
kidnapped, and then I got sexually trafficked for 6 months. So while I was there, lots of bad stuff happened. I won't go super deep in gory details and shit, but I was tortured. I was put in boxes. I was burned cigarettes out on my chest and beaten. There was a woman who looked
Shit.
after me. She was also forced into that industry, but she was like my older sister, basically. Like she looked after me. Her name was Antigone, and then one night she didn't do something correct for them, and they beat her to death in front of me on a bed. And I'm only 6 years old, right? So I don't understand this stuff. But I just remember feeling so helpless and powerless at that point. And I made a promise to myself that I would never allow myself to feel that way ever again. And then I stopped performing for them. Eventually I got out, got found by my parents and everything else. But that was a traumatic experience for me. And growing up, it was one of those things where I didn't tell anybody about it. I didn't share that until I was 28 years old, until I did that program, and that changed my life. I carried it with me, and that's where all the anger came from. That's why I wanted to be a fighter. That's why I needed to be hard and need to put on that front. But it was a rough journey all the way up to 28, mate. I tried to kill myself 3 times. You know what I mean? It's not like I didn't have downs. And along the way, like I've got bipolar as well, right? So I have manic ups and I have manic downs, and manic ups and manic downs, and I've gotten them much better under control over the years, and now that I've resolved everything and let things go. But it was yeah, it's been a journey, mate. But then you get to a point where it's like, if I keep doing this, I'm not hurting anybody else except for myself. I'm not hurting anybody else except for the people who love me. And I'm not doing Antigone any justice either. She died. Like, do you know what I mean? So you have somebody that you never want to let down, and you find a reason for why you're alive to this day. Because like people have tried to kill me so many times, guys. Like I've been stabbed 3 times and everything, bottled, all this stuff. But I'm still here, which means there is a reason, there is a reason. So you have to find out what that reason is. For me, it's to be able to make so much money, I can create a foundation for women and children, keep them safe. I'm a long way off, by a long way off, right? But it's a goal, it's a purpose. So whenever I start feeling myself dropping, I just tap back into my purpose, and I tap back into the fact that for me to get there, I have to be the best. I cannot be second. I cannot be third. I cannot be last. I cannot give up. And that will allow me to push through the hardest of times whenever anything happens, so that I can actually be the best person I can possibly be. So I don't let her down. I don't let myself down. I don't let all these people that I need to help down. So it comes from a deeper place, you know. It's a
Damn.
It's a deep thing.
Fuck,
Holy
bro, you've
shit,
lived
what a
some life.
motivation. Yeah.
Yeah.
God damn.
I wasn't joking
Dude.
when I said I lived 15 lives.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. How's life now for you at the moment?
Fucking brilliant, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I'm when it comes to winter time, I tend to get a little bit down in terms of my bipolar. It's because it's triggered. It's the PTSD. It's triggered by the winter because it's around the time that this all happened. It's not a conscious thing. It's just a subconscious thing. You know, it just lies in there, and I haven't really got control over it. But what I do is I just do my best every day to just fucking get the shit done that I know I need to get done, even if it's hard and I don't want to get out of bed and I want to, you know, do all this other stuff. Right? You just have to do what you have to do to get what you want from your life. So right now, in comparison, my life now compared to how it was 5 years ago, guys, it's fucking
You're like a Saudi prince.
miles different. Like I am completely different as well. If you knew me 5 years ago, I'd probably be trying to rip your heads off all the time. Do you know what I mean? That's all I would do. But now it's like it's become a controlled thing, a controlled aggression that you can put into something else to really drive yourself forward, you know? And I think that's the key. You take the negatives that have happened in your life and you make them work for you, not against you, work for you. You know, you take that pain, you take that insecurity, you take that anxiety, the depression, the anger, the hatred, and you put it into fucking yourself and making yourself the best you can possibly be. I think that's
Dude,
it.
like I already had so much fucking respect for you. Like, you know, obviously seeing you around in the box and all that stuff. But goddamn, like you just increase it like fucking thousands of times. And you know how I tend to talk and I can talk forever. I'm just
I
speechless.
second that, by the way. That is definitely possible.
That's incredible, man. Like,
So what is the end goal, Nick? To start the foundation?
Yeah, that's the end goal.
When do you think you'll be when do you think you want to have that done by?
I need to do that before I'm 50 years old. So
Okay,
easy
can
stuff.
you not do it now and kind of like start building the steps, or?
well, what I do now is I donate a lot of money to charities like Operation Underground Rescue and things like that, which are charities that help people that were in my situation. To set up a foundation in the scale that I want to, it's not a let's put a little bit of money into it kind of thing. You know,
Yeah.
It's a big thing, and it's not going to be just a local thing. I want it to be a global thing that really helps everybody, as many people as possible. So
have you thought, Nick, of like doing something like online, like, you know, maybe creating online presence around that stuff and just maybe going that way?
I have, but I love online and it's great, but it's online, mate. Like, you know, there
Yeah,
are
it's not
people
real life.
online, there are women online who come on calls and stuff like that to get help to get away from their husbands, but they're in their house with their fucking husband, you know.
Yeah, sure.
It's not the same. I know it's good for them to find information and things, but that's not the purpose that I have. My purpose is literally take you away from the pain and the unsafety and put you somewhere else where you can really live your life with your kids, you know.
Oh, no, I mean in terms of like spreading awareness about that, like from that standpoint, like not speaking to them on calls or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of creating your like the foundation for your foundation, you know, already on the internet, like spreading awareness, like, you know, because you've got breast cancer awareness, all those campaigns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure yet, because I mean I don't even share that stuff with many people, if I'm honest.
No.
You know what I mean? Because it's my thing. It's a deep
Mhm.
thing. And I don't share that story purely because I don't want sympathy from people either, because I don't need sympathy. Like, it all happened for me and it's made me fucking amazing. And I know I'm amazing. Like, I don't need to be told, you know? So it's a very personal one, you know, and I've got to figure out the right way to do it. But first things first, what I need to do is I need to get to the position where I feel like I'm able and capable to actually deliver that on the scale that I want to deliver it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
How does
it
that
does.
work, by the way? Because like I don't know a lot about these organizations and what they do specifically. But just from how it sounds, like they're not really doing it the way you'd want to be doing it if you want to make your own foundation. Is that?
Yeah, it's kind of true. I mean, it's not necessarily true as well. There's definitely things out there that do a lot of great work, and I know that because I donate to them religiously and quite a lot. It's just that I want to do it. I want to put my own stamp on it. I'm doing it for Antagoni, you know, so
Okay.
I want to be able to do it my way. And yeah, it's a strange one, boys. Do you know what I mean? It's a hard one to kind of explain the mentality behind it. There are definitely places out there that do really well and they do great stuff, but I'm thinking more not just sting operations to get them out of a position or a bad place and get the bad guys in prison. I'm thinking more about like how can we do this to a point where it just doesn't exist anymore, like complete eradication, which is a big thing.
Do you think like it's just like an upbringing type of thing, or like something psychological, or is it just like pure crime?
How do you mean?
In a way that like, are you looking for like preventing those sort of behaviors, or just like acting so like whenever like so like there's a hint of this happening somewhere, like you immediately respond, or is it just like more on the prevention side? That
It's
is like,
difficult to prevent anything. Ultimately, prevention is not really even a thing. Like you can
no.
put things in place like laws. But how many times have you guys broken the law, like subtly, right? And
Yeah.
I'm not talking major things, but little things. We
Sure,
all
broke
done it.
it twice today, breaking red lights.
No doubt, surely.
Yeah.
But like that's the thing. Like these are laws that are designed to prevent people from doing things, but it doesn't prevent the person doing it if they really want to do it, you know. And if they have that kind of profile where they are gonna do what they want to do, you know. I'm guilty of it too, you know. So myself, so I've been in trouble for loads of different things. And even though the law's there and I know I'm going to get in trouble, I'll do it anyway because I want to do it. So it's there, but it's not enough. So it's going to be more of a reactive thing and actually helping people get out of the positions, right? But the way the world's going with all this fucking monitoring technology and stuff like that, like it's going to be a lot easier to see this stuff coming and see where's at risk and see how you can get in there sooner. So it's a matter of kind of figuring it out as the landscape evolves over the years, finding the best possible thing, seeing a gap and going for it, you know?
Yeah.
I've seen recently Christian Jack shared a post. I believe you worked with like consulting him, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Have you thought of like going that direction as well? Because I know you've also mentioned something on one of the you know the calls we had. I don't know if you want to share that, but like consulting wise, like consulting companies, is that the direction you think you're going towards now?
Yeah, definitely. I do that as well. Like I do a lot of stuff, you know. I'm always doing something. So I do the sales coaching, you know, for the box and helping Bill with that and pushing that forward because that's a huge thing for me. The more people I can help. And it's also like that's a funny thing too. It's like a selfish thing. Like everything is selfish, right? The more money you guys make, the more I impact your lives. When I set up this foundation, people are gonna be able to have enough money to donate towards it and help it to fly, right? So there's that. There is the sales that I do in terms of actually being a closer on different offers. I'm doing business brokering now as well, which is selling businesses and getting slices of the pie there. And then consulting. So I do a little bit of private one-to-one work with particular people. And then I do consulting. So you can pay a fee and I'll come and I'll just quickly look at what you've got, look at some of those reviews and then reword what you're doing and show you why it's not working and how to fix that little bit and then set you off and you go and you start crushing it, you know? So I do all that stuff. I work with the business as well, which is, you know, completely restructuring his whole sales structure and system and giving him the slaps he needs to be able to actually have conversations with C-suite people, which is going really well for him. So everybody I work with, they always get the ROI really quick. It's just about, you know, how do we do this for more people in, you know, in the right way for them? That works.
How did you get so good at sales, Nick? I know you've got all your life experience, but I mean, because like I seen you in the training videos, like, you know, like when you first joined the box, you know, you're kind of like everyone when they come in, and then like a couple of months later, a year or so later, you're like, you know,
Like
you're
a
up there, you're
fucking
one of the
rocket,
best.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a good question, Sean. Do you know what's funny is like I still don't even feel like I'm that good at sales. Do you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
know but I'm not as good as I can be. But I think the key for me was the fact that I burnt the boats for everything. Like I locked myself away and I studied and I studied and I closed and I closed and that was it. I'd do role plays. I would watch those videos over and over again in terms of the trainings. I'd attend coaching calls. I would talk to people in the field and role play with them and get, you know, onto different things as well and learn from other places and then add tools to my arsenal. But it was just about really becoming completely and utterly obsessed. Like, this is what I want. I want to be, at that time when I first started, I wanted to make 25K a month. I set the goal. I was like, I'm going to make 25K a month by December. And it was like June at the time. And I'd done that by the end of July. So then I was like, oh shit. So now I got to make 50K by the end of December. And it was tough to do, right? So it's just about having a goal and putting your mind to it so much that nothing else even exists. And it doesn't matter because it's like a few weeks, a few months of your life. But at the end of the day, that few weeks, few months of your life can transform the earnings that you make comparison to somebody who's a 9 to 5er who would spend their entire life trying to get to that kind of salary and never get there. You can do that in a few months if you just fucking focus, you know?
Yeah.
And I think ADHD is helpful with that as well. Because with ADHD, you get so hyper focused, like you can do one thing and be so obsessed with it and nothing else matters. You just go, 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 go. And then you get it. And you're like, okay, cool.
Oh, you have ADHD, do you?
Yeah.
Ah,
So,
okay.
so much shit wrong with me, guys. I'm completely fucked up. But also,
Well, you've turned it around, right? Like you turned the things that were, I don't know, in some sense you could say they were bad, but you turned them into your strength, right? So that's the most beautiful thing I think about you. And it's like I remember having a conversation with Bill a couple of months ago, and I was asking him like I was asking him the most stupid question probably because I was thinking of another training you probably or everyone has heard of it, the inner circle. And I asked him like Bill, like for transparency, like what is the difference? And like I obviously now know the difference, despite obviously actually delivery and all that stuff. But it's like it's like nothing corporate. It's like you get actual real people with actual real fucking stuff. It's like it's not rehearsing certain things, like not acting like the person that you want to act to be, but it's just like you actually become that person and you guys kind of help us, you guys kind of mold us in a way that we start becoming those people. And if we don't, then it's really on us because like Bill's tough love. Not everyone loves it. I personally do love it because it's like for the longest time I was just kind of like relying on my other thing, and I was just thinking, well, shit. Like I mean, I don't have to go hard. I don't have to go, extra step. But I just realized like I keep playing not to lose, and only because of Bill, only because like being surrounded by you guys, I actually started playing to win, and it's so much easier to like from a place of just being congruent with people, like when you're on a call with someone and someone's giving you something that's just actually not aligned with where they're looking to go, you can actually from your own experience and you actually that person, you can lead them, and I think that's kind of like what the box is about, like actually helping everyone that you guys kind of like work together actually step up to be the leader of their lives, right?
Yeah, correct. It's a sales training in the sense like this is stuff you need to learn in order to be able to sell, but ultimately it's also like how do you become the version of yourself you want to be? Because it's all well and good selling that idea to somebody, but if you're not on that quest, how fucking dare you? You know? So it's about being able to actually own the fact that you're on that quest and that mission and understand how to do it the best way for you. Go through those things, go through and blast through the objections that you get from other people to yourself, overcome yourself, your own issues, and realize they're happening for you. And then you can shape other people's perspective and you can shape other people's way of looking at things, but from a place of genuine care, right? Because you've been there yourself, you know what it's like and you feel it, rather than just these are words on a script I'm going to read at you, and 5 times out of 10 maybe it will work, 7 times it might not. It's about being there in the in the moment with that person, because that's all it is. It's just you and another person having a conversation. It feels weird because there's this fucking camera and a screen here, right? And you're not actually in the room. You can't smell their BO. Do you know what I mean? You can't be with them. You can't feel the fear in that moment. But it's still the same concept. You're sitting in a room with one person, you're having a deep conversation. But I think a lot of people, when they get into sales, they lose that because they're too stuck in their head about, oh, what should I say next? What should I do next? How do I do this? What should I say now? And it's not about what you say, it's about where it's coming from. And if you say it from the right place, it will impact a person and it will help move a person. But if you say something coming from the wrong place, then they're going to feel that energy too, because it's all it is. It's a transference of energy, even through, speakers. I'm speaking into the mic, my energy goes into the mic, it comes through your speaker, it comes out to you. Do you know what I mean? So it's about getting it all spot on and leading yourself and having that confidence and certainty that you are on that mission and you will complete that mission. And you want to help as many people come on that journey with you, because once you get there, they get there. If you can have that and you can learn that, you can embody that, more importantly, that's where I think everything starts to change. I think that's what we do the best at the box out of everywhere, personally.
100%. And
I've been-
would you?
Sorry,
Oh,
go on,
Shane.
Sam. No,
Okay,
what was
well,
your question?
what I wanted to ask you, Nick, is like, to an extent, you almost want to be like a motivational coach to some of those people.
No, I'm not a motivational coach. No, it's not to be a motivation guy, because motivation comes and goes. What I do want to do is I want to help people to actually become who they really are. So I know a lot of people hide because they're scared, ultimately. A lot of people hide behind this image of fake confidence, where they're overconfident, but they're really just afraid that if they're not confident enough, they're not going to be accepted, they're not going to be loved, they're not going to get what they need. Then there are people who are hiding behind or not hiding behind, but they're just very insecure in themselves, and as a result they don't come across as powerfully as they probably are deep down. And all of this stuff has just been conditioned into us from life and experience and what we have and haven't achieved, and what we define success as, and what our parents think of us, and what the world thinks of us, and how we were treated at school, and how we're treated by these people. And all this stuff is just, it's built into somebody's behavior, and it becomes a pattern that they completely and utterly surrender to without even knowing. But the reality is, you can take somebody who is completely shy and terrified of being on having a conversation with somebody, deep conversation, because they're scared of what they think, and you can transform that person into a fucking leader who can shift and move somebody's soul and mission. And that's what I want to help people do. I want to help people to really find who they are themselves and love that part of them, and not be ashamed of it for any reason, and not allow that to hold them back from becoming as amazing and as powerful as they really want to be and deserve to be. And I think that for me is the biggest driver when it comes to particularly the coaching side of stuff. It's like, you can come to me for word tracks. Yeah, great. I can give you word tracks. I can tell you this, that, and the other. I can explain the psychology behind things. I can tell you what type of person you're speaking with, all this stuff. But it's not about that. For me, it's more about, how can I help you become the you want to be? And you can be. But for one reason or another, you're not. Because I've been there myself, mate. I've put on hard facades and all this shit for 28 fucking years. I was depressed to hell for those 18 years I didn't share anything, 22 years even. But as soon as I allowed that to not happen to me, but for me, and accepted myself and loved myself and look at myself in the mirror and think, fuck yes, you're the man. Do you know what I mean? Until that point, it was all bullshit. And you don't make the money you want to make because you're not being yourself. You're not real. You're a fake. You're a phony. And,
How did you do that for yourself? Because I've had shit happen to me in my life when I was younger, and that what you said there literally just hits home. Because there is I'm stopping myself from, because I know I can do more, but I'm lying to myself, and like you said, putting on that facade. How do you kind of break through that?
it's a great question, man. It's a very loaded question.
What you literally just felt like you were speaking right to me with that question, the way you were answering it.
Yeah, it's the deep work that nobody wants to do, because it is scary and it's uncomfortable, and it means opening up cans of worms that often have been sealed shut because we think it's for our own good. It's kind of like this, mate. If you think of it, spring cleaning, when you're cleaning out your cupboards, right? And you've got your cupboard in the kitchen, you open it up and there's so much shit in there and it's just a fucking mess. So what most people do is go, no, shut the door. right?
Yeah.
I'll do it another day. I'll do it next year, whatever, when I need to. But the reality is that shit is clogging up all the other space that you have for all the other good stuff in your life. Now, when it comes to spring cleaning, you open it and you start taking stuff out, and it's hard work and it's dirty stuff and it's gross, and you put it on the kitchen counter, but then you can't stop. You can't stop there, because if you stop there, now your whole kitchen's fucking dirty. So you have to continue. You have to completely clear out the closet before you shut it again.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it just doesn't have the right impact. So it's scary work, because if you don't do it the right way and you don't do it in the structured way and you don't actually get rid of everything and you allow certain things to stay in there and fester, then you haven't done it properly, and it can cause sometimes more bad than good for some people. So it's a scary thing. It's a risk you kind of have to take. It's like, do I leave that cupboard shut and just stay as who I am? Or is there more to me? And am I strong enough in myself to actually say, do you know what? I'm going to let this all go, and I fucking will succeed no matter what. And it's
Yeah.
it's being the man who's just not going to stop until you fucking make it throughout that cupboard, you know? Now, there's loads of different things I've done, like courses wise and exercises wise and stuff like that, which is a bit too long to get into and stuff now. But there are definitely things out there that you can do that can really help you to clean that cupboard out, you know, and just become at peace with everything. Because that's what it is. Peace, you know, the acceptance. Which we can go into another time, surely, for sure.
Yeah, no worries. I think I'll have to pay for your one-on-one. I'll give you my card after the call.
Yeah, no, I'll be happy to.
How did you get so good at the identity shifting? Because I've been watching a lot of your calls in the call review section, and you do it better than anyone I've actually seen. You know, that whole identity frame shifting, and obviously now that you're speaking about it, it's like it makes so much sense. But when you're on the call, like you do it like way better than anyone I've seen. Like, how do you get like do it on the call?
I think that is probably tied into everything that we've been kind of talking about. There's that. There's also the fact that when I worked at that company, which was for cognitive performance, all the students that we get in, we do these tests with them, right? It's personality tests. So like the Myers-Briggs, you know, the Myers-Briggs, things like
Yeah.
that. Myers-Briggs are okay. Again, it's just a generalization, and your personality type can change based on the mood you're in and everything else. But what it does start to do is starts to open you up and understanding how different personality types actually present themselves. And then once you understand the personality type that's trying to be presented, you can then take that and reframe it and help them to become a different kind of personality, just through understanding them more deeply, because the things you say hit home much more when you know what it is that is actually driving that person's core. You know, not the bullshit they tell you, not the facade, the bullshit, the insecurity, the anger, the whatever, the thing beneath it, the real driver for a person.
Yeah.
And because I was embedded in that stuff for 2 years, I was working 18 hours a day, 6 days a week on that stuff, like selling it, doing the course, everything. Like I was busting my ass. I learned a fucking lot about people and how they operate, you know, and what it is. So when it comes to things like learning identity frames, I think studying the psychology as well is always a powerful thing. The psychology of people and how people make moves and decisions and how they're influenced by things. But it's also about just getting more and more experience under your belt of actually talking to people, but looking for what that identity is and what that particular profile is looking for, so you can start to piece together the puzzle for yourself. It's always good in theory, right? But until you're actually on the call, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, even when you're on the call, because I was just following your word tracks, you know, just following the word tracks, and because I don't know what I'm doing, it's not hitting home. So just on like learning the whole psychology of people, anything you'd recommend on that? Like I know courses, books, anything like that.
It's difficult, mate. Like the best thing you can read, mate, is people. Like, I don't read many books, I just read people, you know.
The magazine or like the actual
I don't know. I've never read People magazine. I'm assuming it's probably not the right thing.
No, definitely not.
But I think, you know, just getting on calls and really being confident enough to ask those questions, but from a place of curiosity, right? Because that's the thing. Like if you get on a sales call and you're asking questions in the sense of I'm asking you this question to get you there, then it comes across differently. If you're asking it from, I really want to understand what the fuck is going on in your head right now. if you ask it from that place, the answers you get tend to be a lot more they have a lot more substance to it, you know, and you can learn a lot quicker. Trying to think of any books that I've read that I think were great for that. So I've read a few. I'll tell you what, I'll make a list of them, man, and I'll send them to you.
Do.
We'll probably
Nice.
put them down in the description as
We
well,
could do
because
that
that's
too.
going to be huge.
Yeah.
I know, Nikki, I know we are reaching the top of the hour, and I know you gotta go. Last question on that is like, for people that keep trying different things, all that stuff, like, you know, maybe they feel lost in life. Would you also say that, you know, had you not had those experiences in the past, you know, the good, the bad, all that stuff, coming into sales, let's say you didn't have those experiences 5 years earlier, would you have had the success or no?
Good question. That is a question that we'll never know the answer to, right?
I guess what I was trying to get at is like, it's kind of all those things that happen to you that you kind of like going piggyback into like what you said. It's like you turn those things that happen to you and you turn them into things that happen for you, right?
Yeah.
So I think that as soon as people realize that all those things, even the bad things that happened to them, it's actually the fuel that they can use to actually get to where they're looking to go. And had they not have those experiences, they just most likely wouldn't be where they are at right now.
Oh yeah, mate. I think it's really important, you know, because I've known a lot of people who have had some horrible shit happen to them as well, just because of the circles that I used to live in. Unfortunately, I lost a lot of them to like brown smoke and white lines. You know what I mean? And the thing is, if you don't own it, if you don't accept it, if you don't use it, then it's going to use you, and you're just going to be a vessel for a trauma or a pain or something that's not serving you. So you have to flip the script. I'm not just talking about super traumas or bad things that can happen to people. I'm talking about little things like, you know, some people get abandoned at their bus stop. The parents were fucking 5 minutes late to pick them up from school one day, and it makes them feel abandoned. And now they try and like people please so that they don't get left behind. You know, it's the little things, and it's the detail that people miss, and it's the detail people overlook because they think, oh, it's not that big a deal. But really, your brain is just a fucking 5-year-old brain, right? It's very primitive. So it doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense logically now as an adult, that isn't a big thing. It's the fact that your brain has processed it as a big thing at that time, and now it's in the subconscious somewhere, it's locked, you know? So I think it's about just being able to go as deep as possible with yourself and into your life and look at what were the things that happened. Like I can give an example of an exercise, maybe do like a mind map, you know, mind maps, brainstorm kind of thing. Do a mind map, 0 to 5 years old, memories, core memories, 5 to 6 to 10 years old, core memories. Do all of the memories that you can remember up until this point in your life, and then go back and rate them in terms of 0 to 10. How impactful were they for you? How happy a memory was it? Was it a 10 out of 10 or was it a 0 out of 10? And then add up the averages and see which quarter of your life was your best quarter and which was your worst quarter. And then start looking at the memories you have in those and start unpacking them and looking at them a little bit more deeply and figuring out what the issue was, and then start to overcome those problems by doing other things and actually accepting that it's happened for you rather than, you know, to you. And those kinds of things, it's the self-awareness that will really move the needle. You know, it's the willingness to do it, because it's not a ROI thing. You're not going to make fucking 30K from doing this.
No.
What most people put it off. They'll be like, no, I'll do it later. I'll do it when I make money. I'll do it then. But really, that's the thing. If you can do that now, and you can become that leader that you need to be, and you can overcome those things, it will serve you moving forwards beyond fucking 30K a month, beyond 50K a month, to wherever you need to be in your life, and give you fulfillment at the same time and happiness properly, not just money happiness, because it doesn't make you happy. It just helps you live happier, you know?
That's a hell of an action item for anybody at the end of this. So
Dude, Nick, thanks for sharing all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. What a fucking gold mine of value. Again, I'm speechless, dude. Massive respect to like what you've been able to accomplish, and like keep trying. Thanks for jumping on, my man.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Nick.
No worries. Take care.